Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Songs. I'm your host, Pete Pardo, publisher and CEO of Sea of Tranquility. Today, we are going to tackle, not just because I wanted to do it, because a bunch of you asked for it, my favorite band of all time, Deep Purple. All right. Ironically, this was fairly easy for me to do. I think what was challenging is what was going to make my honorable mentions list, because that's pretty damn lengthy. As you can imagine, if you have a favorite band, chances are you probably like most of the material that they've done throughout the course of their careers, and that's pretty close for me. There's a couple albums that for me are a little on the weak side, which I didn't pick as many honorable mentions from. But as far as like that core group of 10 songs, fairly simple to do for me. There are a bunch that did not make the cut of the top 10 that just sit just outside it. That kind of pained me a little bit, but it happens, right? It happens. And before I get into this, I want to kind of touch on a little bit of the subject, do a little rant here for a minute or two, if you will allow me. Now, when I decided to do this top 10 songs show, this wasn't an original idea of mine. I had a number of viewers who asked if I could do shows where I call out my favorite tracks from specific bands and what have you. So it's taken on a life of its own. Obviously, you guys love this format. I've done a whole bunch of these, and they've been getting the most views out of any videos on the channel in recent weeks, and that's great. I'm glad you like them. I'm going to keep doing them. However, there are a select few of you who seem to have issue with my choices. Now, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. This top 10 show here are my top 10 favorites from these bands. These are not the biggest hit singles. These are not the highest charting songs. These are not the songs that the band has played live for decades and decades and decades, and the general public's favorite songs and most well-known songs. That's not the purpose of the show. If you came here to see me list Tom Sawyer and Dust in the Wind and Carry On Wayward Son and Stairway to Heaven and Hotel California and Limelight and all that kind of stuff, there might be, in some instances, a chance where those are among my top 10 favorites, but that's not always going to be the case. What I've told many of you who have called me out to say, I can't believe you picked this list of unknown songs that nobody knows. What about, and then you rattle off their 10 most popular songs that are on the greatest hits and their biggest hit singles and all that kind of stuff. If you've been following this channel for a while, you probably should know that that's not me. While I do like a lot of those songs, and in many cases I love them, they may not be my favorites. I am the guy who really likes the deep album cuts. I always have been. And while I appreciate and love the hits, they may not be among my top 10 favorites. So just because I don't include those big hits in my top 10 doesn't mean I don't like those songs. And if I don't include them in my honorable mentions, that just means that I like other songs better. Doesn't mean I dislike any of those. So for all of you who keep saying that my lists are garbage, or you don't agree with them, or they're ridiculous because they don't include all the hits in there, that's not the purpose of the show. So get over it. If you can go anywhere on the internet and find the top 10 biggest hits, most popular songs of any of these bands, why would I bother doing that? That's everywhere. Okay, these are my favorite songs. And I guarantee you, in most cases, 70% of what I choose are going to be far from the greatest hits. That's just the way it is. That's me. And I think, honestly, that's far more interesting to hear that than to hear me regurgitate all the popular songs that everybody knows about, right? So now that I cleared that up, okay, I want you guys to know that going forward, that's the format of the show. If you don't like it and you just want to hear someone spew off all the top 10 hits, then go somewhere else, all right? Anyway, let's get started here. You're going to find most of, if not all of this material is from their 70s albums. Doesn't mean I don't like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s albums from Deep Purple. I actually love them, but as someone who grew up with this band, we all know what their classic material is. That's where a lot of my favorites come from. So let's get started with number 10 from the In Rock album. No surprise there, my favorite album of all time. The venomous Into the Fire. Ian Gillan at his screaming best, heavy riffs from Blackmore. Just a rampaging hard rock song, for 1970, pretty damn heavy, right? Next, we're going to go to the Burn album, the first one with Coverdale and Glenn Hughes. You Fool No One. Okay, when they played that live, they turned that into a big, long epic with, keyboard and guitar solos from Mr. Blackmore. Coming in at number 8, title track from the Stormbringer album, Stormbringer. You're going to find a lot of Coverdale Hughes stuff in this list because I really like that era of the band. Coming in at number 7, actually a single that they released around the time of the In Rock album and later made its way onto the CD version of the In Rock album, but the wonderful Black Knight. It's interesting because when I was pulling my list together, again, how I do this is I go through each album and I pull out my favorite tracks from that album. I come up with a master list, and then I kind of whittle it down from there. Well, In Rock, obviously, Black Knight was initially not on the In Rock album, so I kind of missed out on that. And then I had my top 10 set, and ironically, the title track to Fireball was in that slot, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot Black Knight, which I really love. So as sad as it is, Fireball got ousted from my top 10 list, but I love that song. All right, so that was number 7. Coming in at number 6, Mistreated from the Burn album. Probably one of Coverdale's finest moments. Just a great, 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 great song. Great, great slow blues tune. Very different from a lot of the stuff that Purple was doing around that time. Number 5 from the Machine Head album. No, not Smoke on the Water. Highway Star. There's a lot of great songs on Machine Head. Probably for me, it's not my favorite Deep Purple album. It's in the top 4. I find Machine Head a little overrated, probably because I've heard a lot of those songs so much, but some of those deep cuts are great. Like Pictures at Home, I really felt bad about leaving off. A couple of other really good tunes on there, and of course, Space Truckin'. But Highway Star, always been my favorite song from that album. It's got to be on here. All right, from the Stormbringer album, The Gypsy. My favorite song off the Stormbringer album, and one of my top favorite songs from that Mark III era of the band. Just love it, man. It's just so powerful and emotional. Totally dig it. Coming in at number 3, back to In Rock again, Speed King. What a heavy-hitting, barnstorming song, huh? Killer. Again, more great screams from Mr. Gillen. That fuzzed Hammond organ from John Lord. Great drumming from Ian Pace. Roger Glover, steady on the bass, and of course, crazy guitar playing from Mr. Blackmore. All right, so we're down to the final 2. Coming in at number 2, one of the best title tracks in all of rock and roll, Burn. Burn is just such an epic, legendary song. Man, that's, again, from a great album, a great version of the band, that Mark III era of the band, so awesome. And just a great, 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 great track. There are times where that might even be my number 1, but my number 1 has been my number 1 since I was probably 12 years old or 13 years old or whatever. So that hasn't changed, and here I am, soon to be 53. So that song is Child in Time. Just a kind of creepy, moody, somber, explosive, bombastic tune, epic tune, with some of the best Ian Gillan screams ever on record. A blistering Ritchie Blackmore guitar solo. Probably my favorite guitar solo of all time. And I sometimes struggle with which version of this song do I like better, the one from the album, the In Rock album, or on the Made in Japan album, which is even longer, with a longer Blackmore guitar solo. It's a little bit different, but just as cool. I don't know. But it's always been my favorite Deep Purple song. I can remember being a kid, and I had, at one point in time when I was a teenager, I moved into a room in my parents' basement, and I set up my stereo on one side of the room, and I used to play Child in Time, blast it, and I had the speakers on either side of me, and I would just sit down on the floor with it blasting over me, just singing at the top of my lungs, playing air guitar, and I remember just getting chills every time I heard it. I still get it. Still get them. So that is my favorite Deep Purple song of all time, Child in Time. So let's, honorable mention. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way back, and I'm going to just kind of shout out some tunes from all their albums, and those will be my honorable mentions. Again, if I don't mention one of your favorites, doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just that they may not be among my favorites. From the first 3 albums, how about Hush, Mandrake Root, Wring That Neck, Chasing Shadows, Bird Has Flown in April, from those first 3 kind of psychedelic albums, all good tunes. More stuff from the In Rock album, Bloodsucker, Living Wreck, Hard Loving Man. From Fireball, I felt really bad that I didn't include any Fireball tracks in my top 10 because I really love that album a lot. It's very underrated, but I still love them a lot, so I don't want to give slight to it at all. The title track, obviously, No, 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 I love it. That almost made it for me. Demon's Eye, of course, which was on the UK release of the album. Fools, Great tune. No One Came. Love that one a lot. Barnstorming track. And then Strange Kind of Woman, which again, what they did was they released Demon's Eye and Strange Kind of Woman were both included on the album, but on different editions. So the US version had Strange Kind of Woman. Demon's Eye was available on the UK version, and the song that was omitted was the single, right? So from Machine Head, how about Maybe I'm a Leo? I like Maybe I'm a Leo. Great, great tune. Pictures of Home, I already mentioned. I got to give a shout out to Smoke on the Water. Never one of my favorite songs on the album, but for the importance of it all, and you know, it's a classic song for a reason. Lazy, gotta love that. Space Truckin', of course. From the Who Do We Think We Are album, again, none made my top 10, but I do like that album a lot. Woman from Tokyo, obviously, is great. Super Trooper, I think, is a fantastic song. Smooth Dancer, also, and the Red Hot Rat Bat Blue. All right, what do we got left over from Burn? How about Sail Away? From the Stormbringer album, didn't make the cut, but I love it. Lady Double Dealer, and how about Soldier of Fortune? All right, good stuff. From Come Taste the Band, an album that I've loved more and more as I've gotten older. A couple tunes were right there. I felt really bad about not including Getting Tighter. Love that song. How about Dealer? Love Child. What a great riff. And You Keep On Moving, which is a moody, moody, great tune. Love that a lot. From Perfect Strangers, you know, Knocking at Your Back Door, and the title track sat just outside my top 10. Nobody's Home I like a lot. Mean Streak, Wasted Sunsets. From the House of Blue Light, Mitzi Dupree, Bad Attitude and the Unwritten Law. Strong tunes. From Slaves and Masters, which is easily my least favorite Deep Purple album, kind of because to me it's kind of like a weak Rainbow album, right? But there are a couple of good tunes on there. King of Dreams is really good. The Cut Runs Deep I like. And of course, Fire in the Basement, probably the best song on that album. From the very underrated Battle Rages On, you got the title track, Anya, Talk About Love, and Time to Kill. I love Time to Kill. That should have been like a hit single. That's such a catchy tune. From Perpendicular, Steve Morse's first album with the band, and arguably in the top 2 or 3 of the Morse era albums. And one song especially almost made my top 10. Vavoom, Ted the Mechanic is great. Sometimes I Feel Like Screaming. That's the song that almost made my top 10. That is such a great song. And they played it on this most recent tour, which was awesome. Someone Stole My Guitar. What a great riff from Morse on that. And A Castle Full of Rascals. Another great song. From Abandon, Seventh Heaven and Watching the Sky. Great heavy tunes. From Bananas, Sun Goes Down and Silver Tongue. Cool, cool rockin' songs. Rapture of the Deep, Wrong Man and Money Talks. From these next 2 are the most recent albums, which I love a lot. And again, I felt really bad about not including any of their songs in the top 10. But again, they're so recent. Not classics yet. Talk to me in 10 years, I may change my mind. From Now What? A Simple Song, which I absolutely adore. That's the kickoff song. It's my favorite song on the album. Out of Hand, Above and Beyond. Uncommon Man, Vincent Price. Great, great songs. Good mix of prog and hard rock. From Infinite, Time for Bedlam. Hip Boots. Get Me Out of Here, The Surprising, and Birds of Prey, the Crankin' Birds of Prey. Those 2 albums are so great. Bob Ezrin produced, man. Deep Purple's back. I'm hoping they have another studio album in them before they decide to just retire for good. Because, man, those last 2 were damn great. So, let's run down my top 10 once again. All right, starting from number 1. Child in Time, number 1. 2 is Burn. 3, Speed King. 4, The Gypsy. 5, Highway Star. 6, Mistreated. 7, Black Knight. 8, Stormbringer, 9, You Fool No One, and 10, Into the Fire. So let me just take a look and see how many Mark II and 3 I've got. So from Mark II, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, 5 and 5. Split down the middle. I did not plan that, guys. I did not plan that, but interesting how that came out. It just goes to show you how much I love the Mark II and 3 eras of the band. They're, very, very close, even though the Mark III only had the 2 albums. A lot of really strong material on those 2 albums, right? So, interesting. So, yeah, my top 10 consists of 5 from the Mark II, 5 from the Mark III. Go figure. Anyway, that's it. Till next time, guys. Thanks for the suggestions. I've got a long list of bands that I'm going to tackle here in this top 10. So if you didn't hear your top 10, or some of your songs in your top 10, sorry. We all have different opinions. We all have different likes. So just watch mine for what it is and list your favorites in the comments. If we differ, hey, that's cool. We're all different, right? We all have different likes, and our ears are different. What we enjoy is different. So that's the beauty of music, right? So this is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're on the mighty YouTube. Stay tuned for more top 10 songs coming up. A bunch of you asked for Triumph. I'm going to tackle that pretty soon. We got, what else? Uriah Heep is coming up real soon. Some of you called for Saga. Some of you have called for Journey, Judas Priest, Maiden, Metallica, Grand Funk Railroad. Man, I've got so every day I can do another one, right? So just keep coming back. We'll keep having more for you. So we'll see you real soon. Take care.